How will it work? That's the question people are asking this morning after Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said she wants to take that province out of the Canada Pension Plan and create one managed solely by Albertans.
LifeWorks report shows that creating our own pension plan could benefit all Albertans. According to their analysis, an Alberta pension plan could increase benefits for seniors, reduce premiums for workers, and protect the pension interests and benefits of all Albertans.
That report went on to say the province would be entitled to a $334 billion asset transfer from the Canada Pension Plan in 2027 out of the plan's total assets of $575 billion. That's 58% of the fund. Joining us from Calgary this morning is Professor of Political Science at Mount Royal University, Dwayne Bratt. Good to have you with us.
Good morning.
First of all, is it even possible for Alberta to withdraw from the CPP, and how would it work?
Oh, yes, it is possible. That was in the arrangements that they created the CPP back in 1966. But what it requires is that the Alberta government create a comparable program with comparable contributions and comparable benefits that would also be portable. And so that was a major thrust of the press conference, is that they're not just pulling out of the CPP, they would create an Alberta pension plan. This also requires the support not just of the federal government, but of at least 7 of the provinces involved, because this is a cooperative between 9 provinces. Quebec has its own plan that's interchangeable, and the federal government. The problem and the sticking point, and this came up right off the bat, is the amount of the CPP assets that Alberta is claiming. They're claiming, based on their reading of the legislation, that Alberta is entitled to 53% of the fund. The CPP Managing Board argues, no, that would be roughly 16%. And Trevor Tombe, an economist at the University of Calgary, has estimated roughly 20% to 25%. The difference between that is hundreds of billions of dollars, because on the face of it, if Alberta takes 53%, how do the other 8 provinces divvy up the resources? You would end up, using some of the same calculations. Ontario, for example, would have 63%. Well, you can't have more than 100% of the assets, and you can't have a situation where some provinces actually have to pay into the fund to leave it.
Where did that valuation come from? It is the number she's citing now. I imagine it's the number that will continue to come up as these provincial discussions take place.
It is a term, it is a concept, an alternative interpretation that LifeWorks made. And that's because, based on a literal reading of the act, which was not well written on this point back in '66, is that you could end up with, if the provinces withdrew, up to 9 times the overall amount of the CPP's assets. The question is, are they using the right alternative interpretation? And the problem is everything that flows from that. So you heard the clip from Smith at the beginning, that Albertans would pay less in contributions, they would receive more in benefits, they would be saving $5 billion every year, is based on this distribution of assets. So if that number is wrong, as I think it is, and I think it will be disputed by the federal government and the other provinces, then it puts into question the rest of the document.
Dwayne, I have a question back to something that you mentioned about having the other provinces sign off as well. This is a long road. So Alberta needs to agree, first of all, and then they need to be able to prove that it's still a benefit to them if they pull out. And then you've got to get the other provinces to get on board. So what happens if the other provinces say, sorry, no?
I mean, that is part of the problem, because while it wasn't identified, obviously, in the report, which was quite narrow, and it wasn't identified in the press conference by Smith and the finance minister, Nate Horner, this is really about attacking the federal government. They're interpreting this as giving them leverage. They're attacking Ottawa. Smith has repeatedly said in the past, if you think it's hunky-dory that you give Trudeau all of this money. Well, Trudeau doesn't manage the fund. And they're upset with Trudeau over net zero electricity. They're upset with emissions. And this idea of pulling out of the CPP has periodically emerged over the last 20 years, but it only seems to emerge when the federal Liberals are in power in Ottawa. And so I think there's a large political dimension to this. So if they can't get out, then the Stokes are going to be raised around separation in Alberta, because this is really a political agenda.
And really quickly, Dwayne, I just want to ask, given the political climate that we're in right now, how likely is it this idea could gain traction in the province?
Oh, they've been doing polling for years on this topic, and pulling out of the CPP is really unpopular amongst Albertans. They like the CPP. They like the security of their pensions. What the purpose of the report is to change public opinion by saying, oh, we're going to get 53% of the fund if we leave, and your contributions are going to drop, which is great for those in their 30s, and your retirement benefits are going to increase, which is great for those in their 50s and 60s. So this is about selling an unpopular idea.
Our financial expert here at CTV, Patty Levitt-Reid, always says, know your numbers. This is really important when you're making a decision like this. Dwayne, thanks so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.